Yo
We're
Munir.
back.
It actually feels like a long layoff this time.
Is it really?
It's
Because
the same amount
we-
of time.
Yeah, I thought.
No, same amount of time.
Okay. All right. A
Essentially.
lot has happened. Busy week. Crazy.
I was traveling. Yeah, I was in Denver.
Okay. How
Right.
is Denver?
It was 60 and sunny.
Oh.
Their
there are-
problem is not enough precipitation.
I was also going to say 300 sunny days in Denver, as the people in Denver will tell you.
Oh, man. Although I was the one saying it much more than anybody I was surrounded by. They taught me well. What can I say?
Right. Right.
Good job.
Yeah.
So my first ever trip to Denver was 2007.
Okay.
The Rockies had an incredible run to the playoffs that year. And I was producing a show for ESPN. And Erin Andrews was talent that was assigned to this show. So I produced her a couple of times after that. But our first time working together was, let's call it September or October 2007. And then I went back out there for the World Series. And most of the conversation was around 300 Days of Sun. Especially since I had been fraternizing with the group that provided the solar energy to the new scoreboard that the Rockies had put in the outfield.
There you have it. Yeah.
So I had the
Absolutely.
sales pitch down from the Denver Board of Tourism as well as the solar energy companies back in 2007. So
Well done by you and them for giving you the right ability to actually market their city for them.
indeed.
You know, I was doing a little bit of work. Today I had to fix some things. It was productive. We in our house, I have a couple of family members who are absolutely incredible at destroying things. Like stuff they can break that you would imagine is like, how the heck could they do that?
Wow.
And then I was never a handy person as a younger person. I like to make stuff, but I wasn't like a fix DIY person. We didn't grow up in a household where DIY was a thing. We just picked up the phone and said, help. And I have had, as a homeowner, I don't know if I've had to, but as a homeowner, I have decided to learn how to be more self-sufficient. And it's really invigorating. Like figuring out, like we talk about creativity, figuring out how to solve the problem. And sometimes you don't want to be too creative. That's where, like how-to videos come in. But there are other times where you're like, like today I had a shelf and the shelf had these, little pins that go into the wall so you can adjust with the height of the shelf. And again, family member who just, I don't know how, but destroyed it. And it was a repeating thing at that point. So I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
And it hadn't destroyed the plasterboard. Anyway. But I decided I am going to fix this with a more, because I polled the people, like, are we going to be moving this shelf anymore?
I told the people.
I was informed.
You're getting the guidelines, the box, if you will,
it's
to
consumer
create within.
it's consumer insight. Right. I'm looking for what am I creating for? Right. And if I create a solution, is it a durable solution or am I going to have to create again? And
we do this in software.
Absolutely.
That's product team.
Right. Is it a bespoke solution? In which case you're not a SaaS software anymore. You're a client-based services solution, or is it going to be something that everybody can use? So yeah, and then I had to figure out like, how am I going to solve for that? So what is my solution going to be? So I cut a couple of pieces of wood with a power tool and I screwed them into the wall. And so now we have a very stable shelf that is not going anywhere.
Not adjustable though either.
Again, the brief was we don't need it to adjust anymore.
That was not a requirement.
The requirement is I don't want it to break anymore.
Key capabilities, don't break.
There you go.
Got it.
So,
well, congratulations. Well done.
Thank you. I also shoveled because it's snowing again here.
Jesus.
No, not.
We missed that, thankfully. Yeah. Oh my God. Well, I did some shoveling, but it was more about curating.
Oh.
And cutting back the snow.
Very nice.
Making more room in the driveway after a little bit of melt. Although today is bitterly cold.
I have
wind chills and the negatives.
We were expecting that, and I have not yet.
Maybe you get it tonight.
It's probably coming our way.
It's coming. It's coming.
Thanks
I
for sending it.
I don't
over.
know. Maybe it's could be coming down from Toronto as opposed to up from. I presume that would be down from, right?
Yo no sé.
That's not what this show is about, is it? Why don't you tell them what this show's? I like that. That's a good one too.
This show,
the people
Rob,
who you are.
I am Munir Haddad. I am the co-founder of Kiosk, an advertising agency, and we love creativity and we love stakeholder capitalism because we like to connect the dots between people and creative solutions.
I love that. I love Kiosk. How about that? And I'm Robert Haddad, and I've spent my career working in sports, media, and technology. I'm a father of 3, and I'm interested in understanding people's creative journeys, what motivates them, and how we're all connected.
I love it. You might almost connect creativity to people.
I'm going to have to think about that.
Think about that.
Connect creativity to people?
Sure, why not?
Tell me more.
I think that oftentimes folks say things like, I am not creative, or folks, oh, yeah.
Keep going.
Right? I don't need to keep going. That look was enough to tell me that I'm onto something.
I think you're right. I seek to provide people with their permission.
I like it. Permission is important. People forget that they can do, or they say they cannot. And saying you cannot is what's the quote? Do or do not. There is no try. But
I almost said that this morning to my.
There's another one though. There's another one that's related to that. I think it might be Thomas Edison or something. It's like if you say you can't, you can't, or so. It's something like that.
Okay.
But
there's also another one that's just do it.
Yes, there is. Yes. Absolutely.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say that's in advertising, that's a creative solution to a problem.
In corporate America, that's a creative solution to doing your job. Just do it.
Well, that's somewhat cynical. Just a little bit cynical.
Well, I think it's much more important for us to lay out the framework of what the show is going to be. Both of us, interestingly, have had conversations this week. We didn't talk about this in what we did this week, but also what we did this week was talk to people about why we started Yo Munir.
Absolutely. People want to know, why did you start a podcast? And 22 episodes in, having an answer to that is probably a good idea.
Or it's something we've tried to answer before.
In fact, I went back to look and found that in episode 5, somebody had asked us why we had started a podcast, and we sought to answer it then. So a reminder is not a bad thing.
I like that. I like that. And we should talk about that within our origin stories segment.
I love that.
Let's go ahead. I think what we decided was, because everybody was asking us why we started the show, we ended on to celebrate creativity.
We did. We didn't end. We started with.
We started with, wow.
It's
the show.
It's the beginning.
I'll give it to you again. We started this show to celebrate creativity.
Yes.
I love that.
I do too. And we still do.
It's got some flexibility. But now we have something that we can really anchor on as we take our audience and our friends, our family, right, we're all part of this audience, through the journey of each episode.
So one of the things that we talked about in terms of an origin and why creativity is important is that we spoke about the fact that we have been surrounded by creativity in our family and in our lives from when we were young. We used to have art projects with Mom. Mom would also
we used to make the plates. Do you remember? That's a great point.
How could I forget? So, before there were phones to preoccupy teenage boys' time, you needed activities to do. And one of the activities in a day might be, they had these circular pieces of paper, and they had the markers, and you could draw on this circular piece of paper, and then you could send them away, and they would laminate them or impress them onto a plastic plate. And we had probably 40 of those plates. God knows what that cost in today's dollars, and God knows whether the plastic that they made those things with was safe, but we had a lot of them, and we had everybody in the family doing it. Our dad would draw.
Also your
dad. Simon would draw. And then, Simon was, he was older than we were and was very interested in oceanography. And he drew this plate of a scuba diver. Yeah. Firing a harpoon gun at a shark.
Was it a shark or an orca?
I think it was a shark. It was not an orca. It was a shark.
Okay.
And then he put like some red blood in my and
we did
Mom
put some blood. That's right.
And Mom was like, "I'm gonna eat off this." And lo and behold, what was the plate that you and I always wanted to eat off? Was that flipping plate, because it was really well drawn for these markers.
He was a tremendous artist.
Anyway, so creativity was around us, and then beyond that, our dad loved painting. And Mom loved writing, and Mom also did collage work with us and sculpture. And we had clay all over the place. We'd make these little clay figures. In fact, some of them are right there still, right there. And so in acting and spending time performing, our mom did some voice acting later in life. Our dad did some plays later in life.
That's right.
And instruments and playing music. Mom taught herself guitar and classical guitar and complicated classical guitar. I taught herself, like remembering that. So we were surrounded.
I have Mom's guitar.
Yeah.
I have Mom's guitar. I have one of Dad's paintings, not there. That's that same wallpaper swatch that's been there for 21 episodes.
Yeah. Okay.
I have one of Dad's oil paintings hanging in our living room.
Yeah.
I have his Canon A1 film camera.
Great camera.
That I
still a great
still
camera.
shoot.
Film.
I still shoot on it.
Right.
I still shoot on it.
Yeah.
Wow. When you
And then
name it, sorry, but when you name these things, which we haven't done on this show, we've just, maybe his letters in which he drew pictures for words, but when you name it, it really is all around us, was
all
all
around
around
us,
us, and still is.
and still is. And if you think about, um, though, the careers that we went into as well, they are careers that are either firmly in or adjacent to creativity. And I think that that has been a constant. Um, and it's been something invigorating. And it's, I think, something that we feel, um, in an age of AI, in an age of, constant noise, having independent thought and creativity is something that's uniquely human, even if a computer is assisting you with that. And so there's a reason for celebrating it, but also a reason to help, um, I some might say, shine or put shine on it, or promote it. So I'm really excited always to talk to you, and I'm always excited about what you have going on, because I have enjoyed your creativity and your cultural curation of creativity since we were kids.
Wow. Wow. Oh, thank you for that. And I appreciate your gratitude. And I can say many similar things about you. In fact, this design is your creation.
Yes, with an inspiration from you, because you were encouraging of the creativity.
Amazing. Yeah. Yo Munir. This is your NFT.
Yes, we like experimenting with creative solutions as well. And when there was a time where it's like, what is this NFT thing? And, what does it look like? And how does one create them? And they're stupidly easy to create. And then we also did some commerce where it's like, what does it take to move one from one person to another? And what does that look like? And, with art, it's also a discussion of art and commerce. And if you're going to be an artist, are you doing it as a hobby or are you doing it as a profession? And if you're doing it as a profession, then you deserve to be paid, and you have to have a self-worth about the work.
We talked to Kevin Frank about that.
We did. And Kevin Frank is very firmly, a creative individual, but also understands that his job and as in advertising is creative plus commerce, which is the creativity is in service of a business goal. And that's amazing as well, because you can be amazingly creative even in business, like a business model. How do you, if you think about, capitalism as a creative entity, like arguably the capacity to create new businesses, new ways of doing things. Think about Netflix. Netflix did not create the post office when they were sending DVDs around. They also didn't even create video rental. There was already an existing business that did that called Blockbuster. And what they did do though was they were like, you know what? We're going to create a new way of you getting your video. So instead of you going into a store, you're going to go online and select your video and we're going to mail it to you. That's crazy.
This might be too far afield, but I went back and looked at notes from our first attempt at doing a podcast, which was actually June of 2020.
Hello, Munir. How are you? This is your brother Rob. I am recording on GarageBand.
What? Oh,
This was not, this was a long time coming.
yeah.
And one of the notes is you talking about wanting to start a subscription service at EA.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We, so, if we think about, the pragmatic side of creativity, as we have been doing, Um, at Electronic Arts, we would have a game engine, and then the game engine would get tweaked every year. And the product at that time was a physical product on a DVD, actually on a Blu-ray disc at that point. And then the Blu-ray players were internet connected, which became interesting because you could have, in theory, an updated roster, because midway through the season, players would get traded. There's a trade deadline. And so the roster that you shipped the game with might change. The other thing that might happen is a player might get injured, or some standout star all of a sudden is doing much, much better than they were. And that now is like, people do that now. But at the time,
table stakes.
At the time, what we were finding is like there weren't a lot of consumers that were able to or did buy the game every single year. It was like every other year. And so what we were noodling over was, could we actually keep our game relevant to more people if we sold a subscription where you have the old game, but we're going to sell you an upgraded roster each year. And there's a subscription that would allow us to make the money, to be able to pay the players, because there's a license behind that, to also be able to afford the service that would update it. And, we were kicking it around. Now, again, like now they just do that. And it's part of their, I don't know whether they charge a fee or subscription for that now, but that's part of the game, is updated rosters.
Yeah. I think you pay for your subscription to, anyway, I'm not going to get into it.
Sure.
But ultimately, the main point is that this medium has been on our minds for the last 6 years now.
Yes.
And we finally did something about it earlier this year, or I guess last year. Wow. In 2025. And the idea originally was to talk about what was in our LinkedIn feeds. That was kind of like an anchor. What's in your LinkedIn feed? And I think to your point about shining, giving shine or shining a spotlight on someone or something, that also has its origin in shouting people out, giving them credit, talking about ideas, and talking about things that are driving creativity in business in 2026.
Yeah, celebrating the creative use of a channel to be able to tell a story, to be able to draw attention to something interesting. And for us, it was a way to recognize interesting things that we saw that provided things that we wanted to think about.
That's right. And then also, by the way, to leverage our own personal experiences from the past, how we're treating them in the present, and what that might look like in the future.
For sure. 100%.
We talked about some of our creative inspirations. And the interesting part about that, being surrounded by all of these creative inspirations, including music. Our mom loved the Beatles and ABBA. We built our own taste and palette and culture of music. We still weren't necessarily given permission to pursue creativity as a career.
Right.
Is that, you just said right, so I assume, but creativity as a profession is something that we're both keenly interested in.
Well, not only we work in it. I mean, in advertising, we're working with creative all the time. You were, for 16 years, creating video out of nothing. Like, you had a concept, you put the concept together, you created it by filming people and recording them, and then you edit it together into a thing that didn't exist before you thought about it.
Yes,
And
that is great.
so, you cannot deny the desire and the need. A lot of times people talk about in creative professions the need that they have to make stuff, and I think that that's important. Um, and I think permission is an interesting thing, right? Because at some point in time you take it, but not everybody feels that they are again, permission. They're not allowed. I can't do that. I'm not allowed to. In our worlds, it's a reality, but I think at some point in time there are individuals who are capable of suggesting or making themselves go, I am going to take permission, or I'm going to just do. And in our work in the creative profession, I think that we found a way to um, monetize. We were able to get paid so that we could eat and put a roof over our heads and clothe ourselves by being creative or creative adjacent. Maybe it's not pure play stuff, but it's a way to be creative and to be remunerated for your creativity in a way that allows you to do what you want to do with the rest of your life. But no, it was not encouraged.
I think I will say, I think if we presented a path forward within a structured industry in which we could be creative within,
Sure.
that would have been, I mean, I worked for the NBA, first job out
Yeah.
of college. Clearly creative, but I was creative within a sports league.
Sure.
I wasn't
Yeah.
going off to be an artist. And I'm not sure I would have been deterred from being an artist as long as it didn't cost them a 4-year college degree for me to go be an artist. But again, this is all hypothetical banter. I know my dad, our dad, discouraged me from pursuing being a doctor.
Really?
He did. He did. He did. I told him I was interested in medicine, and he's like, "You shouldn't be a doctor."
No.
He said it takes, yeah. So maybe in some ways this is contradicting.
This goes to your one of your favorite quotes. I'm going to forget the philosopher or author's name and the TED Talk and about you never have the same parents.
Yeah, Gabor Mate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, because I had to have a profession. You have to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer.
Crazy what can happen in 5 years, eh?
Amazing. Amazing.
His position was, and it could be self-serving once I tell you the story.
Okay.
He said it's 4 years undergrad, it's 4 years medical school,
Yep.
it's 2 years of a residency.
Yep.
So it's 10 years of investment until
Right.
you're getting paid.
Right.
And in 1998, he certainly wasn't going to pay for me to go to, I mean, let's say 1994. You
Sure.
know, the perspective of supporting that career path for someone who had never shown academic discipline.
Right.
I think he was in his own way trying to be encouraging of other avenues as opposed to one that didn't necessarily fit my personality at that time.
Right. No. He if we want to go back further, our grandfather, who was he was the youngest of 10, and he, by the time he got to dental school, his father had passed away, and so it was his older brother who was responsible for paying his way through dental school. But as the 10th kid, he was not as focused as maybe kid number 1, and they cut him off.
Wow. Okay. That makes
And then
sense.
that, so that when you talk about creativity, our grandfather owned a print shop and published a magazine and a daily newspaper. And was creative as well. You know, he had ebbs and flows throughout his career, but you know, one of his first jobs was or businesses was creative in that respect too. He was an entrepreneur. He had his own print shop and a printing press, and would publish stuff. So yeah, here we are.
Here we are.
He'd be so proud.
And I've worked with publishers for a number of years in my past as well. But I mentioned academic discipline.
Yes.
And I mentioned this to you once. I think I use creativity as a crutch to avoid being accountable.
Say more.
There's a tremendous quote by Orson Welles, or at least it's credited to Orson Welles, that I would like to read to you.
Okay.
We often hear, think outside the box. So this is framing this quote for you. The enemy of art is the absence of limitations.
Oh, interesting.
The enemy of art
right.
is the absence of limitations.
Great. Because in order to create, you need to understand the structure, or either to break the structure or to operate within it.
The best social commentary art is in response to something.
Interesting. Okay.
All right. I mean, or otherwise, what is social commentary if there isn't a structure that is surrounding you that you're creating and fighting against, or speaking out about?
Fighting against. Well, I mean, I think if you think about people that create, like a Picasso, who took a structure, which was painting, which had an expected way of, structure, like where you place your saints and how you paint them and what techniques you use. And, then he broke it, with Brock and some others, by starting this Cubist movement. Or you think about a Matisse, or do you know Vasily Kandinsky?
Kandinsky, yes.
Yeah. So Kandinsky, who people argue was one of the first true modern painters who did not have a representation within his painting. Like, he painted stuff that was completely abstract. And there's arguments about whether he was the first abstract painter or not, and which painting of his was the first abstract painting. But he started in that same tradition, if you will, in that box that you're talking about, and then free or created within or created on top of.
I guess that's maybe even the counterpoint to creating within a box, and the origin of think outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
In that jazz, I think about Miles Davis and Donald Byrd and these brilliant jazz musicians, and Charlie Parker and Ahmad Jamal, and they played outside the conventional music.
Yeah.
Right. And so that is outside the box.
But to your point, they needed the box.
Yeah.
Or you think about Banksy, right? Banksy sat there and looked at traditional graffiti and then wheat pasting, which those things existed, but his capacity to create social commentary that was more engaging and interesting, or different from what people were doing, was also fascinating. And graffiti is an art form, if you will, that has been going on since Roman times or before. I mean, maybe even the Egyptians.
That's a worthy conversation to have in the future.
It is. We'll put a pin in that one.
All of these creative professions that are before us, both from our past with Kevin Frank and our present. I don't know if we'll get to speak to the future, but at least what the future might look like, we can speak to.
Sure. For sure.
Amazing.
I love that quote. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I'm going to I'm going to put that, I think, on my board.
I like that. We've decided to close our show with something that originated a couple of episodes ago in the creative process of thinking about what the playlist to my one-man show would be. We incorporated a question to Kevin Frank about his top 3 songs, and he chose to frame it within a category of songs about thank you and gratitude. I love that.
Yes. Yep.
But we're going to close.
He made himself a box.
He did. Well, he's a creative. He's a professional creative. He's not an artist. Well, anyway, he made himself a box. We're going to close every episode moving forward with our top 3 songs now, or 3 songs that we want to talk about, or 3 songs of the week.
That sounds great.
Do you want to start us off?
I would love to start you off. Noah Kahan is he actually released a single. That is not the Noah Kahan song, though, that I'm going to tell you about. But it got me listening to Noah Kahan again. And the song that I was listening to that I'm going to bring up is The View Between Villages, which I just think is a beautiful song. And it's one that his release had me listening to. The other one is one that my daughter was listening to. It's just it's a fun song, even though the topic is not that great. Dealer, and the E is spelled like a pound sign, by Lola Young, a young artist. And the last one is The Land of Hope and Dreams by Bruce Springsteen. Based on our recent events, it is something that is meaningful to me from a, unlike you, I am in this country by choice. I became a U.S. citizen, and I believe in the American dream, and I believe in the land of hope and dreams, and I have high hopes for us collectively. And Bruce is a guy whose political commentary I think is very poignant. And he does it in a way where it does not necessarily feel preachy. Arguably, there are people that feel he's very preachy now, but in his youth, he did not come across that way. And I believe that, he has a lot of optimism and hope, and I do too. How about you, Rob?
I love that. And I'm going to start with a connector to that thought. Bad Bunny, DTMF. Love that track. Been listening to a lot of Bad Bunny recently.
I wonder why.
As have many, many millions of people.
Yeah.
Do you know he has 89 million monthly listeners on Spotify?
I'm actually not surprised because his stuff is great, but I would never guess that number. That's amazing.
Yeah. Nas, I was hoping to just get away with
all of it. All of his work.
I was hoping to just get away with Nas because I didn't want to. The world is yours, though. No, the world is yours.
Okay.
I listen up. Well, because what happened was I mentioned I was in Denver. My CEO was asking about my top 10, and I started not panicking, but fretting the list that I had made because I was like, oh, there's nothing from Illmatic on this list. This is absurd. I have to start a new list. So I started a new list. And how do you even choose from Illmatic? It's almost why it's easier for me to talk about top 10 albums as opposed to like top 10 songs. But The World Is Yours. And then Umi Says by Mos Def.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good song.
Those are the 3 songs.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love it. And because of Rob, your encouragement to create these lists, I heard from a couple of friends of mine who had been listening to one of my lists, and they said, "Oh my God, can you share that with me?" And so I have been sharing my playlists with people because of your encouragement, and it's always fun to share creativity with others. And I think that's special too.
I love that. I love that. That's part of the celebration, is getting to share it, right?
I agree. All right.
Great to see you.
Great to see you. We'll see you soon.
Bye.